I'm Justin Keay, Field Specialist in Horticulture for University of Missouri Extension. I'm going to talk today about post-harvest best practices for produce care and handling. Some key things to keep in mind when we're thinking about maintaining produce quality is that produce is still living even after it's harvested. It's easy to think about a tomato on the vine as being alive. It's important to remember that even after it's removed from the vine, it's still alive. Produce will naturally age after harvest. To maintain that quality, you want to slow the aging process. One of the things that produce does when it's growing is the process of respiration. After harvest, respiration continues, reducing product flavor and texture and also reducing the saleable weight. Therefore, we want to do all we can to reduce respiration. Some of the things that are most important to produce quality and shelf life are the temperature of the product, the moisture level of the product, and the humidity level where the product's being stored. The product's exposure to light and air circulation are also important. Here are some key things to think about in terms of produce quality. First, we really want to make sure we're starting with clean, healthy, mature product. When you start with a good quality product, you're more likely to maintain that quality from storage to sale. Also, when we think about how customers buy produce, they want to buy something that feels firm and fresh, not wrinkly or wilted. Keep in mind that produce is very high in water and that different products have different percentages of water, so therefore might need different humidity conditions and storage. For example, watermelon is 92% water while potatoes are 79% water. We need to make sure that we're maintaining the proper water level in terms of storage and handling. Every type of produce has its own storage requirements. One of the resources listed at the end of this section includes very detailed storage requirements for all produce commodities, including optimum humidity, temperature, and whether product should be iced or misted. This table shows that storage temperature has a big impact on how much energy or heat is produced by these different products. Things like sweet corn respire a great deal and produce a great deal of energy. If you're storing sweet corn or other produce at 32 degrees, which is almost freezing, the respiration and heat loss is going to be far less than if you're storing at 70 degrees. The cooler that you're storing these highly perishable products, the less respiration is going to occur. You'll maintain the quality much better and longer the cooler you can keep your products. In addition to respiration, transpiration is another natural process that produce goes through. Transpiration is the loss of water from living produce. This loss of water can lead to wilting, shriveling, and softening of produce. You don't want to lose water because produce quality and weight will be reduced. You want to control that transpiration by controlling the humidity. Generally speaking, you want to store produce with enough humidity so that it's moist but not soggy. Transpiration can also be controlled by lowering the temperature, which is true with many aspects of quality. You also want to reduce air movement by making sure that fans are not blowing directly on produce, as this will create excess moisture loss. We've been focusing on keeping produce cool, but it's important to note that certain types of produce suffer chilling injury at low temperatures. The optimum storage temperature for things like green beans, eggplant, cucumber, melons, and peppers is about 45 degrees. You want to make sure they're cold but not too warm. Things like pumpkin and winter squash need to be a little warmer, about 50 degrees. Ripe tomatoes can be stored from 45 to 50 degrees. You want to make sure that the different products are held accordingly to their temperature requirements as much as possible to maintain optimum quality and avoid chilling injury. In order to maintain quality as much as possible, there's specific things that can be done at harvest. Note that some of these points are the same as they would be for food safety. You want to make sure that you're picking early in the morning to have the coolest temperatures and moist conditions. Also, in the field, you want to keep harvested produce under shade. You don't want to be storing products, especially leafy greens, out in the hot sun. You want to keep things as moist as possible, but not soaking wet. This can be done by covering the product or misting it. You want to make sure that all the produce is mature and that care is taken to handle the produce gently. Picking in a sanitary manner is also very important. If there's any produce showing damage, such as cuts or bruises, this should not be placed with other harvested produce. You don't want produce to decay and spread these organisms to other produce. If all you have in terms of temperature control is refrigeration and room temperature, this is how you can divide things out. Again, it's better to keep products at a temperature more specific to that given produce. However, we recognize that a lot of small scale producers don't have multiple coolers to facilitate various refrigerated storage temperatures. You can see listed some of the fruits and vegetables you want to keep at refrigerated temperature. The bottom row lists products that could be stored at room temperature. Potatoes, dry onions, garlic, and sweet potatoes should be kept in a well-ventilated area. With all these products, you would want to keep out of the light as much as possible to reduce light exposure damage. These are some general points for produce storage. When you're storing things refrigerated, you want to cover them loosely to maintain their moisture. You still want to allow some air circulation, but not too much. Covering loosely will also prevent too much condensation from occurring, which can lead to product sogginess and spoilage. You generally want to separate out fruits and vegetables in storage. For the most part, fruits produce ethylene gas, which can damage ethylene-sensitive vegetables. If you're keeping things at refrigerated temperatures, generally speaking, you want to keep it as cold as possible without freezing them. You don't want anything to get below freezing. The proper temperature does slow the aging process, reduces bacterial growth, and also prevents chilling injury. Bacterial growth is both a food safety and food storage concern. There could be some bacteria that cause spoilage or decay, and that's going to be more of a product quality or product shelf life issue than a food safety issue. However, there's also bacteria that can cause human illness, and these are called pathogens. Their growth would also be reduced by keeping things at cooler temperatures. If you're storing produce at room temperature, you want to keep it out of direct sunlight. You also want to reduce moisture loss, which can be done by covering the product loosely but not sealing it off. If you're storing something in a sealed bag, off odors can be produced and decay can happen. Within a sealed bag, carbon dioxide increases and oxygen decreases. Remember, produce is still respiring even after it's harvested. Produce is just like people. We need to be able to breathe and have fresh air and get rid of carbon dioxide and have enough oxygen. Here are some important points to remember in terms of product care and handling to maintain quality and shelf life. Remember, consumers buy with their eyes, so appearance is key. You also want customers to be satisfied by the eating quality and experience. So maintaining product quality is key to customer satisfaction. Remember, harvested produce is still alive. Be sure to treat it with as much care as possible because it's still respiring and transpiring. You want to control the temperature and humidity as much as possible, making sure that it's not too hot and not too cold. Here are some resources I referenced earlier in this PowerPoint. Check out this post-harvest produce information from UC Davis. These storage charts are extremely detailed and cover every produce commodity you could imagine.